Crowder amped up the racism game. Yeah, who knew? All right, I thought Crowder, personally, all right, let me tell you, I thought Crowder maxed out the racism on his amp, but he started to type in new numbers and started to spin that started to spin that dial, man, because he, for some reason, he can always find a new avenue for racism. He's wild, bro. He's like a truffle sniffing pig. You know, you send that boy out and he can find racism wherever, whenever. It doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter when, nothing has to be happening. Crowder will find the racism and he'll do it as much as possible, all the way up until he gets banned. I don't know for what if Crowder gets banned for what we're going to be talking about, what'll this be? Like his fifth, his sixth, seventh ban? It's been a lot. Did he somehow top the George Floyd video? Man, I almost forgot about that. Back when he tried to reenact George Floyd being killed. And so he had one of his smallest, twinkiest workers like sit on his back, not his neck, like his back for like 9 minutes. And he's like, bro, I'm fine. Hey, if you're watching this and you're a YouTube frog, you may not know this, but you can support the channel as well. You can be a member. The little join button right next to the subscribe button that should be clicked. Not only that, you should have rung the bell already, you know, just to make sure you keep up with everything. You can join for as low as $3 a month or as high as $10 a month. Make sure to also check us out on Twitch to stay up to date with the freshest memes if you want to catch us live. And if you didn't know, one last thing, we have 2 other channels. If you're into gaming, we have a gaming channel where we upload gaming segments, and we have a second channel, Shark Bites, where we upload videos that don't necessarily make it to the main channel, but I still think that would be really fun. So you can subscribe to those 2, and those are linked on the main channel's homepage. Some of you guys may have known a couple of days ago, as of today, as of this recording, was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Great day. He's a cool guy. He's a great guy, a sick guy, a cool guy, an amazing guy. He was a cool guy. He was a sick guy. MLK Day always has a certain je ne sais quoi cringe to it. It has nothing to do with MLK himself. It has everything to do with the people who always bitch and moan about the fact that MLK gets remembered. And so this has been going on for as long as Martin Luther King has been around. They don't care much for civil rights. They don't care much for voting rights. They don't care much for the plight of black people in the country. They don't care much at all. Or they're actively hostile to it. So a lot of these people, ever since Martin Luther King started to speak out against his own oppression and the oppression of other black people, these people wanted to make it their mission. All right. They took right after the FBI and they wanted to make it their mission to make sure that nobody listened to MLK and made sure that his dreams of a better world never came to fruition. And so Steven Crowder, he decided to go live on his YouTube channel about Martin Luther King Day, but not to celebrate Martin Luther King. Everybody does that. He went live to tell you a couple things that they don't tell you about MLK. Now, as a socialist, we like to talk about the things that he talks about when it comes to like wealth inequality and everything. No, he doesn't want to talk about that. MLK encouraged violent protests as much, if not as more, as peaceful protests. You probably didn't know this, and there's more, much more. Ooh, what is this, Crowder? Would you look at this? Top 5 things you didn't know about Martin Luther King. Oh, and this is the thumbnail that he used. Oh, look. Oh, he's going in deep on MLK. Okay. He's digging through the memes that nobody wants to tell you about this man. He has a speckled history. What's he gonna say? Oh, what? Like MLK, he was a mixed bag? Something along those lines? He was no angel? I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to find out. Hey, Crowder, tell me what your thoughts are on MLK, huh? And obviously, anytime a day comes where they talk about black people, they have to have this guy. Who they have lovingly named Quarter Black Eric. He's their aficionado on anything African-American. Yes.
Well, here's the thing. Everything we're about to share with you comes directly from congressional records, archived newspapers, MLK's own speeches. And I know the FBI is not an organization that I trust. Okay, I want to be very clear. However, none of the evidence that we'll be providing for you here has actually been refuted by anyone in the MLK camps.
Yeah, they just don't like how they obtained it.
Right.
So can we just take a moment, okay, and think for a second? The MLK camp? What the fuck is the MLK camp? The MLK camp with anti-racism and pro-voting rights for black people? What camp is Crowder in? The anti-MLK camp? the people, yeah. So normal people and then Crowder. Listen, pick a side, America. Which way, Western man? The MLK camp or the Crowder camp? The racism camp. Let's be honest, all right? There's the racist camp and then there's the MLK camp, all right? I'm glad that he had to say it for him. I'm glad that he just said it. Can you explain to me how Quarter Black Eric is funny? It's not. It's fun. Like, once again, people like Crowder peaked in comedy. They peaked like mentally, and they got stunted in 8th grade. So the types of jokes that you think, so imagine jokes that you think would be funny to like 7th and 8th graders in class and at the lunch table. Those are the same types of jokes that like Steven Crowder and his friends think are funny. Or like, my bad, the people who he pays to laugh at his jokes. That's basically it. Right. So if you can think of that, just like what some shitty little 7th graders would find funny, that's basically the type that's basically Crowder's type of humor. And he'll probably think it's great. So yeah, quarter black Eric.
It was surveillance transcripts that were reported by a guy named David Garrow. But he also, this is the biographer. He obtained these transcripts from the FBI. He was the official biographer on MLK. He won the 97 Pulitzer Prize. So this is a man who was very pro. Did I say?
You said 90, 87.
87.
Yeah.
And the FBI surveillance audio will be released in 2027. I don't know why they picked that year. I have no idea.
Specific year?
Later, you know. Yeah. They're like, oh crap, it's getting closer.
So,
here's the thing. They're like, oh no, the tapes are going to drop and it will destroy MLK and finally America will wake up that black people are actually giga cringe. No, we have to push it back. What the fuck are you talking about? The only types of people who care about those tapes are racist and shitlords. And typically there's like a near 1-to-1 Venn diagram on that. Crowder's obviously like smack dab in the middle, but like what who cares? Nobody cares about these FBI tapes. They don't matter. None of this shit matters. Literally nothing that Crowder is going to say matters when it comes to the legacy and history of MLK, the effect that he had on the nation, and what we can do with his like teachings and his word like now that he's gone. Literally nothing has anything to do with this. And also taking anything from the FBI on MLK, we'll talk about that. This just in, when MLK was 13, he actually put his chewing gum under the desk in his English class. You probably didn't know about this from MLK gang quivering in their boots.
Here's something that you probably know that MLK, for example, let's start with this, supported peaceful protest.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That is true. Sometimes. He also had some pretty, I guess you could say, unsavory opinions about riots that I do think need to be considered because a lot of people don't know this part.
Listen, he's a little bit of a mixed bag, okay? Oh my gosh. Anybody who's actually like researched MLK knows that he has like almost no unsavory views. The big thing when it comes to unsavory views and Republicans, it's views that they don't like and views that promote civil rights, human equality, women's rights, immigrants' rights, just stuff like that. That's what they call unsavory. So that's what we're going to expect from MLK here.
And continue to say to my brothers and sisters that I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society, which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots.
1966, damn, how far have we come? Here's the thing, like, there was color. Here's one thing I just want to mention, like, really quick. There was color in the 1960s. That we had color. There are many pictures of MLK in color. People just don't typically talk or like look at those. And they're usually like really good fidelity as well. Not for any like crazy reason, but because they use film, and film it can be very sharp, it can be very clean. You'll be surprised how good like some pictures of MLK in color are. People like to use black and white photos of things that have happened in the past, I think for like one reason and one reason only. And either it feels, my bad, for a couple reasons. It feels antique. And a more insidious reason could be the fact that they want it to seem further away than it actually is, right? Like when you play like a black and white sort of like video that you can tell has been taken from a camera from like 50, 60 years ago or whatever. The thing is like, oh my gosh, it's so long ago. It's like watching the Wright brothers try to use the first aeroplane. Okay, that's what you think. We always like associate black and white images with things that have happened like so far in the past. The thing is, MLK didn't live like that long ago. He really didn't. The 60s weren't that long ago. There are people today who are born to be able to be old enough to understand that MLK was shot when he was shot in like 1968. Yeah, it disconnects us It makes us feel like we're here, we have color, you know, we're in the future, and that was like so far back in the past, to kind of like stop people from understanding like history isn't as long ago as you think. In the course of human events, the 1960s was almost like it was yesterday. Interesting pictures, and like the way and I think the way you'll take some of these pictures when you look at them in color is like is different. Here's one, a color picture of MLK. Here's another one, 1963 March on Washington, that you almost always see in just black and white. These are real people who really lived, who really fought, who really suffered. This is real, and it wasn't that long ago. Cool guy. Also Short King.
But in the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. What is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years.
Shut the fuck up, Crowder.
Failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again.
See, and that.
So I love the fact how he played like a 40-second clip of MLK, and even during that he couldn't stop himself. He couldn't stop himself from interrupting him. He couldn't do it. He needed to chime in. He's chomping at the bit.
That's the problem, is the open-endedness to it, because, well, what is justice? Well, right now people are saying, oh, injustice is there are too many Asians at Stanford. Yeah.
Huh?
So let's burn down a Walgreens.
Yeah. Yes, we all know those. Yeah, we all know, right? Those anti-Asians in Harvard riots where people burned down many Walgreens, specifically because there's like so many Asians in Harvard. Bro, what is that? Yeah, definitely that. Yeah, racists say that. And honestly, racist, Harvard, what's the difference? Let's be honest, okay? It's like rapist and Harvard. What's the difference? They're like, once again, we see another one-to-one Venn diagram. But no, people aren't just mad. People aren't mad that Asian people, normal, good, reasonable people aren't mad that there's just like Asian people in Harvard. What he's referring to is affirmative action, a slightly less amount of Asian people getting admitted to Harvard. Okay, that's like basically it.
No, more specific. You need to be a little more specific, and let me be clear too. At another 1967 speech, and we'll get to the crack whores, and we'll get to the orgies, we'll get to all of that, which a lot of you don't know about MLK.
Yeah, bud. Yes, so true. Yeah, no, he'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Sounds based. Yeah, listen. Hey, remember when he said he didn't take all of this from the FBI?
Things you don't know about MLK. Bet you didn't expect to hear MLK and crack whores.
What?
I have a dream of non-crack whores at a Motel 6.
Nope. No.
I don't think crack existed.
You wouldn't go Motel 6.
I love it, bro. This is probably one of my favorite bits from Crowder, where Crowder pulls something so racist that they don't even want to they don't want to co-sign it. Okay, it's like they know that the only reason they're there is to laugh at his jokes, but they realize that, you know, once this all falls apart and he gets his ass banned from YouTube, and like 50% of his income gets cut, that they want to be like, they want to be able to find other jobs. You know what I mean? They want to be able to get out there, like, and it's not going to be the best look for quarter black Eric and the rest of the gang to be like sitting there co-signing Steven Crowder making fun of MLK and separating himself from like the MLK camp, you know? Like that's not like the it's quarterback Garrett. Garrett can suck my dick. I don't fucking care. He doesn't deserve a name. Anyways.
Probably not. Just whores in general then. So a 67 speech, King said, urban riots are a special form of violence. They are not insurrections. Disagree.
Good to know.
Said the rioters are not seeking to seize territory to attain control of institutions, which today they are. That's their stated goal. Black Lives Matter. They are mainly intended to shock the white community. The looting enables the most enraged and deprived, using his word here, Negro to take hold of consumer goods with the ease the white man does by using his purse. This goes on a lot. If you look at
the wild thing about this is that everything that MLK says is true and based. This is two parts, all right? One, it's true, and two, it's based. This is just factual. As he stated, riots don't happen for no reason. people aren't just chilling at home and they're like, you know what? I think today we will riot. And they all go, you know, riot sounds good. Today we will riot. And that doesn't happen. Riots happen for a reason. In happy societies, they don't riot. The only reason why social instability is a thing is because something has to be wrong. People don't want just social instability just for the fun of it. Okay, I'm sorry, like in inner city like neighborhoods or whatever, or like high crime neighborhoods, the crime isn't high there just because they thought it would be fun. They're not like, man, you know what? I think like if 5 people died by gunshot wounds today, that'd be like super sick. And they go, you know what? You're right. It doesn't happen. You're a fucking idiot. You're a buffoon. This doesn't happen this way. It is true. It is true that these things happen for reasons. And a lot of the reasons is because there's something wrong. There's something, we're looking at symptoms, and you can't just cure the symptoms, which are the riots or social instability, without addressing the root cause, the disease, which would be racism in society. That's the reason they exist, right? And no, like the stated goal of like BLM is not to take control of what you think the justice system or something. You think that the stated goal of BLM is to like plant their own BLMers, that we will overthrow the justice system, and then we will have our own black justice where white people are giga stinky and us black people will rule. Like, what are you talking? Black people rule. We're black people. That's us. And we rule. Like, come on, bro. Like, chill out. Calm down. Be an adult. Like, I know it's hard for Crowder, but he needs to like be an adult. It is true. Like looting like it's a really curious thing, right? It makes like consumer goods necessities as purchasable to someone who doesn't have to worry about money. But the condition that these people have been put in forces them to worry about it, and forces them to sometimes even need to resort to crime to get by. This is true. Many people say this.
Some of his statements regarding riots and regarding violent protest.
Yeah.
It's worse than I thought. I thought he kind of both sides it. He actually more often encouraged violent protesting than he discouraged it. And that is probably disappointing to a lot of people.
Yeah, he's
Hey guys, do you understand? Did you hear the part where he said riots are good and we should do more riots, and riots are super based and actually more based than peaceful? Did he say that? Hello? Like I read the same thing that he was reading. I listened to the speech. Did anything come off as like he was like, wow, bro? Oh my gosh. Oh wow, he's like he likes riots. It's just not true. It's just not true. It didn't happen. He didn't encourage riots. But don't worry. As most things that are like racist, these didn't start with Crowder. All right. Crowder is an uncreative, like loser, fail son hack. Crowder doesn't make things. Crowder just appropriates things from things that have already been. Another good way to see this is back way back. A cartoon piece about Martin Luther King. Whoa, look at that. Whoa, I plan to lead another non-violent march tomorrow. It's the same thing. They try to paint him as some sort of like evil, violent man going around trying to scare the white people with his evil riots. He sends out his black goons to go destroy, because he's going to overthrow America and throw us into a pit of communism and anarchy. It's stupid. Everything that he's going to say about MLK is recycled, and don't worry, you'll understand how recycled it actually is once we get into it.
He's making excuses for people basically losing their minds. Look, I get it. There was so much injustice. I have no idea how I would feel, but I probably wouldn't then go and burn down or rob a local store owned by other black people in my community.
Right.
And I would never justify it and say, well, it is just as easy as a white man using his purse. Well, first of all, men and purses, this was beginning of the...
I'm talking about Europe, Gerald A.
It's not a European man bag, Stephen. All right?
Well, it seems that
You do know that you do know that purse just means like purse is just like they're such fucking losers, bro. Purse is just like a word for like where you take money from. You do know that, right? Like the house has the power of the purse. That's what it's literally called. It's literally called the power of the purse. The fuck are you talking about? And I love the idea of them being like, so listen, all right, now I'm not black, and I'm not in the 1960s where black people were just like given the very basic of human rights, which in a lot of places didn't count voting or being able to not be discriminated against based on their race list. You know, I mean, I bet there's like a lot of injustice or something, but like, the fuck's wrong with you? If I was you, listen, Negroes, if I was you in the 1960s, everything would just be, I would have just handled it better. I'm just like built different, you know? Listen, I'm just built different, man. What are you talking about? You just stop, bro. You don't even know what you're doing. Fuck's wrong with this guy? Like, can you imagine saying that? Like, that actually unironically coming out of your mouth? Yeah, bro. You guys were getting like lynched all the time, but like, I would simply just not riot. You ever thought about that? You ever spent some time thinking about that, bro? Couldn't be me. They're Republicans. Of course they block the voting rights bill. That's what they do.
Doesn't clarify, or he's flip-flops, because there is another interview where he specifically says that riots are against the black community. Because then the same thing that we've said before, in 2020, it destroys their own community.
Yeah.
And it does the opposite of what you want it to do. And he says, you can kill a murderer, but you can't kill murder.
Well, Pops Crowders here, the Detroit riots, which you were alive for, that really hurt the white man, right, in his purse.
We didn't feel it at all.
No. But yeah, he needs to. Whenever he says stuff like that, he should have combined it with what he said.
Don't you think that's interesting? Don't you think that's really interesting that this group of people have been like systematically oppressed? They were property, and then for like the next like 150 years or whatever, they have to live under like a cripplingly authoritarian hateful state that does their best to crush them and like destroy them, their lives, make sure they have no future in the country, and just wishes for them all to die, and does everything in its power to ensure that. Don't you think it's curious that even then, like the most like brash, wild thing that they can do, just like kind of like wild flailing, right? And even that when right, it doesn't anybody even but themselves. Even the thing that they have to sit here and like bitch and moan and complain about, which is like the riots, it doesn't even hurt them. He said it himself. We didn't feel it. We didn't really care. We just thought they deserved less rights when they did it. Like, didn't hurt us, didn't touch us. Don't you think it's interesting? Like, even when these people like go off for the like, let go of like all inhibitions and let go of like everything and just like succumb to like a really like primal, just like, fuck this shit, fuck you guys, just break some stuff to get some eyes on it. Asking politely didn't do anything. Working for a better life didn't do anything. They just didn't care. They just wanted you to suffer and die. And so when you do that, even that didn't come back to hurt these people at all. They just didn't care. Listen, if we were in like 1944 Germany, and we're liberating Germany from the Nazi rule, I do think that it would be okay if you were a soldier, that to shoot another Nazi soldier to liberate like Auschwitz. I think that even though Auschwitz is like not in Germany, you know what I mean?
He said later in a different interview, it hurts the black community to do this, and then say they do this because they're being oppressed.
You know what must be condemned just as vigorously is the harming of your own community. That's what needs to be condemned just as vigorously. Think of the Detroit riots. Yeah. And then they blamed.
Didn't he just say that? I love it, bro. He can't even, like, Crowder can't even make a point. He can't even do it. Like, MLK covered all of his bases, and he still wants to piss and moan about something. He's like, we can criticize the riots, but just be as hard as criticizing the riots as criticizing the conditions that lead to them. He's not saying leave one or the other out. You could do both. There's no contradiction here. Their brains are too small. Their brains are too small to hold MLK's entire argument, so half of it gets let out, and then they keep like and then they say it's MLK's fault. What the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, your brain is too small to hold his entire argument, bro. That's not anybody else's fault but yours.
What? White flight, Detroit riots. Like, well, first off, that's not what happened. Second, you burned down your own communities in Detroit. Yep. Black people were harmed, and you know who got the worst end of that stick was black police officers. They had to go home in unmarked cars because they were being picked off by snipers on rooftops. Right. You cannot find examples of riots from the 1970s onward that were targeted specifically, let's say, against just white people, which would be racist, but at least would just make maybe sense. No, it ends up hurting people in their own community, and that needs to be condemned.
Wait, what? It would make sense. Wait, what? Wait. What the fuck is happening? Crowder literally just is. Crowder has now just started to advocate for like black people to go out. He advocated. He was like, "Oh, you know, at least it would make more sense if they went out with hunting squads to go just murder a bunch of white people." What the fuck are you saying? He's like, at least, you know, MLK. He was so pro these riots. I mean, they were so bad. I mean, at least it would make sense if they hurt more people and MLK's the bad one. What he said right there is actually worse than anything MLK said in regards to riots. Wild shit. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, Crowder's on his MLK arc. He was like, you know, at least it would make sense if the black people just started to execute white people. He can't fathom that they're out in the streets wanting a better world. Obviously he can't. Like as the guy said, it didn't affect them. It didn't hurt them. They don't live the life and they don't care about it. Yeah, Crowder's literally advocating for like a race war, or at least like, I mean, if the black people did a race war, at least they'd have a point. Bro, like what the fuck? That's worse than anything MLK said, but okay. But apparently, but our good friend MLK's the baddie, right? He's the baddie.
Maybe sense. No, it ends up hurting people in their own community, and that needs to be condemned just as vigorously. Oh, well, we don't find that writing. Maybe it's because you were too busy with number 2 when we're talking about things that you may not have known about MLK. Worked with communists. Very closely. And I don't mean that in the sort of sense where people are like, pinko commie. I mean, one of his top advisors was a guy named Stanley Levison. And he was a member of the Communist Party until 1956. And he secretly gave MLK Jr. $10,000 just 1 year after meeting him.
That's a lot of thousands.
Yeah, adjusted to today's dollars, that'd be about $87,000.
Wow.
Who cares? Oh, my bad. Where's, you know what? Oh, we're talking about black people. Here we go. Okay, nigga, and who cares? Like, did you know one of his friends were communist and he gave him money? Bet you didn't know that. I didn't, but you know what? I know it now, and that's cool. This King guy just keeps getting cooler the more Crowder keeps talking about him. Yeah, and who fucking cares? Listen, I can redeem my my N-word pass. I don't do it that often, but I do every now and again. It's like a CVS card, you know what I mean? He's a communist. Yeah, isn't he living by his principles? But they would be happy with this. He's living by his principles. Aren't they like, oh, you're a communist? Well, give people money. And then he did. And now they're mad. They're still mad.
That's a big donation.
That's a lot more thousands than I thought.
Seems like an odd number, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to give
Inflation.
you $87,000.
Can't you round this shit to 90? I have a dream.
I have a dream to have a big purse.
Yes. All you
Just
white,
like the one man.
white devils with your Gucci's and your Michael Kors
Chalk demons everywhere I go.
and your Louis Vuittons, I have a dream. So
Do I even need to do I even need to comment on this? Do I even need to comment on this? What can I say? It's just a bunch of like middle-aged losers making the worst possible MLK impression and then pretending he said things he never did and now being mad at him getting a donation. 5 things you didn't know about MLK. He got his suit tailored once. Checkmate, MLK camp. Shark claims Vosh has said the N-word on stream more times than he has. Yeah, I have. Yeah, that's true. Vosh has said the N-word on stream more times than I have. This is true. And he said the hard R N-word on stream, which is not something that I have done. I've never done that before. You're chill with that? No, but he said sorry and he hasn't done it since. He said sorry. He said that that he regrets it and he hasn't done it since. I don't know what more I could ask for someone. Yeah, FD came on and dropped the hard R N-word. And I had to cut that. I had to like quickly cut. I had to cut the stream. I had to click the end stream button. Set the VOD to private. I talked to him while I was like setting things back up. I'm like, yeah, we can't say slurs. That'll get me banned. He was nice though. He said sorry. He even like checked in afterwards. He messaged me and said like, hey, I hope nothing bad happened with your channel. I'm like, no, you're fine. We dealt with it. Don't sweat it. I appreciate you. Yeah. So like the thing is that with like people, right? People like make mistakes. People do bad things. People you like, your friends, they'll do bad things sometimes. I think like still remaining that person's friend doesn't mean that you're okay with whatever they do, especially if they've changed. Now, if they've decided never to change or they haven't changed or haven't made any progress towards changing or anything, then I think that you could be like, then you can think about whether or not like how that person actually thinks about that action. But when it came to that, he owned up that it was wrong, and he hasn't done it since.
FBI counter agent Carl Prussian, and again, this is from the biography, just to be clear. So I know that the FBI isn't always a reliable source, but they did wiretap, which I think is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
However, we also have to acknowledge the facts and reality as it relates to MLK's life. You see a progression of him becoming more and more radical. Some people argue it's because of drug use. Some people argue it's just fame is corrosive to the human soul, but he wasn't the guy who a lot of people praise. Sort of like I've talked about this with Muhammad Ali. It's the flip side, where people with Muhammad Ali don't realize that Muhammad Ali, who was a draft dodger, who was a known racist, who was against intermarriage.
Hello? You're a Donald Trump voter and you're complaining about you're complaining about dodging drafts? I don't care if you dodge drafts. You know what? Freaking pog. We haven't had a good reason to be in a war since World War II. Fuck are you saying? What the fuck are you talking about? Dodge the draft. Good. I'm glad that he didn't throw his life away for nothing. For our own like misguided shitty ass geopolitical interests to go like terrorize some brown people halfway across the world. Good. Who cares?
Against race mixing. Later on in his life, actually moved out to the suburbs and not only supported Ronald Reagan, campaigned for white Mormon Orrin Hatch.
Oh, wow.
But no one talks about that with Muhammad Ali. People change. If you change the wrong way, you'll notice there's a span of Muhammad Ali's life where he really wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't given the same kind of shine. And then, of course, when he died, we go back to when he was young, when he would say he was young and naive and ignorant. How about once he grew up and apologized for the race baiting and calling Joe Frazier a...
So, you know what's really interesting? I just wanted to point this out. That someone like Steven Crowder would make this face and go like, they're not the person you think they are. They're so insane. They're not the person you think they are. Did you know this? He said this mean thing once. He's soying when it comes to like black or brown people or women who do bad things. What about the founding fathers? Remember when people were like, yeah, we need to remember like the founding fathers were actually like some pretty shitty people, raping, torturing, murdering, kidnapping human beings and forcing them to work for their lives until they died, and then raping and torturing them until they died. Don't you think that's like pretty bad? And like hundreds of human beings as well, maybe even thousands. Don't you think that's like pretty bad? Where's the soy for that? Oh, but Crowder will, for the time that was like perfectly fine. For the time that was like whatever. Like, what are you talking about? You're fucking insane. You're stupid. Like he'll cope and like do everything he can. He'll bend over backwards to make sure that like people who like raped, murdered, and tortured human beings will always be remembered in like the best positive light. But now with these types of people, where's his like George Washington or Andrew Jackson? These people weren't the guy that you thought they were. Where's that? What? Like, but they're like presidents, dude. They're like so cool, bro. That's the Olympic Flame 1996. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was remembered like reasonably well. Once again, people do bad things. It be that way, and that's unfortunate. But you know, people are mixed characters. I do think that raping, torturing, and murdering human beings is more of like a bad thing than like allegedly doing drugs. Personally.
House Negro and an Uncle Tom. And he said I shouldn't have done that and called Sonny Liston a big ugly gorilla. This is what Muhammad Ali would do with people. He said I was wrong, and I moved out to the suburbs because I didn't want to be in those communities anymore because I have children.
Yeah.
Malcolm X, same thing. Later in his life, he rethought his violence attack rhetoric. He was like, I don't think that was the right way to go. And being connected with the
Hey guys, make sure to check out the next episode where Steven Crowder dramatically reads Huckleberry Finn.
Muslim church.
Yeah.
Who killed
the
him?
Muslim Brotherhood, right? But
it's not good.
It doesn't give you what you want, right? So, Darren, how many white people looked at the Detroit riots and were like, oh, you know what? They're probably right. Yeah, I totally understand. How many people from the other side were brought to their cause and like given a chance to see what was going on?
Well, they had to see it through binoculars.
Well, that's true. What about?
Yeah, Muslims do love the Muslim church, don't they?
What about the riots in Los Angeles? Not the first time, but the second time that they.
Sweetie, I believe they're burning down Indian Village. There's a bunch of screaming gay men.
It doesn't bring people to your cause. No, they'll hate your cause because you're tearing down the city.
Well, MLK became more, so it's the flip side. He became more radical, and so he's venerated. Whereas when Muhammad Ali became more reasonable, they just sort of ignored him for a while. So FBI counteragent Carl.
You mean they ignored him for a while? People remember, like, when was he ignored? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, here in Kentucky, we have a really big airport, okay? If I remember correctly, our biggest airport is in Louisville. I flew through it when I went to go to Texas and when I came back. It's our Muhammad Ali airport. It's named after him. People like him. They enjoy Muhammad Ali. They're very proud of, and Kentucky is still very proud of Muhammad Ali. What are you talking about? Like, reality is whatever he wants.
Russian wrote in a sworn affidavit to Congress, I further swear and attest that Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was always set forth as the individual to whom communists should look and rally around in the communist struggle on the many racial issues. I hereby also state that Martin Luther King Jr. has either been a member of or wittingly has accepted support from over 60 communist fronts, individuals, and or organizations which give aid to or espouse communist causes. Number 3, things that might surprise you about MLK.
Who cares? The thing is, like, MLK wasn't a communist himself. Some people he knew were communists. Wow. Okay. Wasn't he the one who responded to the waiter telling him we don't serve blacks with that's fine, I don't eat them? I wish. I mean, I'm not sure, but that's hilarious. I love that. He just keeps getting more based. Yeah, he was not a communist. Actually, all of the like hard ties to MLK and communism come straight from the FBI, whose stated goal was to just paint MLK as a communist so they could like throw him in jail, or like people will like not listen to him anymore, because that was during like the big Red Scare, right? The arms race with the USSR. That's when all that was happening. And so what the FBI did was go to anybody who was fighting for like civil rights or things that they didn't like, and then operatives would try to tie them to communists to get them like thrown in jail or something. That was the point.
Not only witnessed a rape, didn't do anything about it. Wow. 1964, MLK watched as his friend, a Baptist minister, Logan, is it Kearse or Kiersey? I don't know how to pronounce. Raped a woman at the Willard Hotel in D.C. A lot of you know this, a lot of people don't. Notes from David Garrow, again, this is the biographer.
So let me pause Crowder right here, because this one's interesting, okay? So listen, we can think about Crowder's history and everything, right? When it comes to, what his thoughts on race and everything, and if he's really like the best actor to listen to. He's been like this for a while. He's been a bad person for a really long time. I just want to tell you, is this the person that you would like? Is this the person you listen to when it comes to race issues? This is the Obama song. This was released in 2009. 2 months into Obama's presidency. Thank you, Crowder. Ahaha, Crowder. Ahaha. He's so funny, bro. Whoa, look at Obama. Haha. Unibrow turban. Obama. Ahaha. Yeah, classic '08 racism. Classic, bro. He's always been like this, bro. It won't stop. Yeah, 2 lunar cycles, and he couldn't hold it anymore. He couldn't hold in the racism anymore, bro. He had to let it go. So yeah, it goes on with some more like insane shit, It goes on with some, I need to be racist now. You can't stop me. So this is the guy. Wait a second. Like, I always like to pull these up. Every time we talk about Crowder and race, I always want to make sure we pull these up. You know what I mean? Like this classic, a Crowder classic, where he by his own words dressed up like a Japanese person, and he had like a doll of a white girl, and they dunked her in water. We could drop like 80% and we still have 3 times what China does. Yeah, but like, we need to be able to bomb China 12 times over. Have you thought about that? 5 things about Crowder that you may not have heard of. Oh, where's the one where he was like trying to make the poodle soup? Please, we won't be watching the video or anything. I just want to see it. Oh no, can I not find it? Ah, fuck. He did the outfit again with like the buck teeth and the rice hat and the kimono and everything. And he was in front of a green screen. He was like stirring a pot with like a really bad racist Asian accent. And then he was like, I am cooking poodle dog soup. Whoop. And then he'd like toss like a stuffed animal dog into the pot and go, haha, whoa, soup, it's soup time. He's just that guy. He's just that guy. Or the time where he commissioned a Powerpuff Girls like parody of The Squad, and he put like a suicide belt on Ilhan Omar. Just normal things. And this is the guy who we're going to trust when it comes to race issues. Powerpuff Girls intro parody, The Squad. So this is the Squad, okay? Look, communism, Green New Deal, Islam, Democrats. Oh, whoa, come, it's The Squad. Whoa, look at Ilana Mar. It's a little quick one. It's a quick little one. It just flashes by really quick. Here's the Ilana Mar character. Oh, dude, what? That's so funny, bro. What is that? What's that, bro? Wow. So cool. He's proud of it too. He likes it. He thinks it's funny. It's a funny meme. A quick little racism. It's so silly. No, he's so funny. Islamophobic. What? You guys all call everyone phobic. Phobic this, phobic that. What are you talking about? But yeah, it was 2019 too. Like, they've only been in office for like a year at that point. Crowder doesn't think of anything originally. Crowder isn't an original person. He's a loser, hack, racist piece of shit who doesn't have anything to show for himself as in anything that he's actually created. He's just a bad person, and a dumb one at that. He's a definition of someone falling upwards. Because not even this list of shit that he pulled together is his own. It's not even his own. If you take a look at this, is this viral list of 4 things you didn't know about Martin Luther King Jr. true? Man, would you look at that? Where's this? This is on Snopes. And you would think that this would be like recently, right? No. This was published in 2003. This was published in 2003. So this is something that's been floating around for a while. This has been like a racist calling card. Every racist has to take a pass at this during MLK Day. The 4 or 5 things that you never heard of from MLK. The way he copy pasted his video. Yeah, he plagiarized his video. He copy pasted it basically. So this is a famous racist copy pasta. This is just like mostly false, right? They'll get into like a lot of things. Every January, this is a quote by someone. Every January, there's a federal holiday commemorating the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. approaches. A year-old item that refers to the famous civil rights leader. He refers to famous civil rights leader as a phony, a cheater, a traitor, and a sexual degenerate. Oh, doesn't that sound exactly like what Crowder had to say about MLK too? Huh, wild that. The list goes on. Like, there's one thing that I think he left out, which is like his name wasn't really Martin. His name was Michael. His name wasn't even Martin. It was Michael. We're not even sure if that's necessarily even true. He plagiarized one of his speeches, which isn't true. He didn't plagiarize the "I Have a Dream" speech. Apparently, like, there are some sections of his like college dissertation that the College of Boston said was were plagiarized because he didn't give the proper citation. King was under FBI's surveillance for years until he died due to his ties to communist organizations throughout the country. Wow, incredible, right? Incredible. The FBI is not just someone who's not reliable when it comes to Martin Luther King. They tried to convince him to kill himself. What happened is that, like, in the FBI, there are agents who were tasked with hunting MLK, finding out dirt on him to try to expose him and try to ruin him. That was the main point. That's what they wanted to do. Their main goal was to try and find out something about him, so they'd be able to cut the head off of the civil rights movement to stop black people from asking for rights. That was the main thing that they wanted. And so the FBI sent him fake letters all the time. They harassed him 24/7, trying to poke him and get something out of him, so that they can use to try to tear him down. And they never really got anything that mattered. And so that's why, like Crowder does, you have to make shit up about him like 24/7. They had a whole ass war on him. There was a guy named Hoover specifically who spent his time hunting MLK. Here's this. That's really interesting. One week before the 1963 March on Washington, the FBI's Domestic Intelligence Division reported on the alleged infiltration of the civil rights movement by the Communist Party, USA. The report said communist agents had utterly failed to make inroads with any major civil rights organizations. Damn, that shit's crazy, bro. Despite every type of propaganda boomed at our nation's Negro citizens, they have never succumbed to the party's succulent promises of a communist utopia. So even back then, none of the civil rights movements were like big communists. They just weren't. They just weren't. Were there some communist people? Sure. As we can see here from the FBI, none of them were able to actually get any inroads with any. The report's cover memo said Penned across the bottom was a memo of Hoover's response. So this is Hoover's response, who was in like control of these people, who they were reporting to when it comes to hunting MLK. This memo reminds me vividly of those I received when Castro took over Cuba. You contended then that Castro and his cohorts were not communists and influenced by communists. Time along has proved you wrong. I, for one, cannot ignore the memos. Read King, O'Donnell, Levison, deleted, Hall et al. For having only infinitesimal effect on the efforts to exploit the American Negro by communists. So the thing is, like, their reports came in, oh yeah, this guy isn't doing anything with communists. He was like, I'm not gonna take no as an answer. That's not what he wanted. To be in trouble with Hoover was a serious matter, Sullivan said. King is described, and this is the guy, once again, who was tasked with finding this information out that Crowder is now like talking about when it comes to King. He described him as the most dangerous Negro in the of the future of this nation. The most dangerous black person to the future of this nation, especially from the standpoint of communism. And so this is supposed to be the really like unbiased source that we're getting on MLK. Didn't he say that about Fred Hampton? He said that about every black person he didn't like. What are you talking? That's just like what he did. They're all the most dangerous, the most dangerous, the most wanted, the most dangerous black man alive. Yeah, so they had to change that. So after they couldn't find anything on him, they decided to hunt him anyways to keep it going. The FBI has a very speckled history when it comes to MLK. One really big thing that you hear of a lot is the like crack whores and prostitutes. Basically what happened is that the FBI was spying on MLK while he was in DC, and while they wiretapped his room, basically they reported that he was in a room and there were 5 or 12 like prostitutes, and he was having sex with every prostitute while drinking it and doing crack off of they boobie. Oh my gosh. They don't know that. It's just a lot of the things that they said, as in like they knew how many people were in the room, is kind of weird since it was only an audio recording that they had. So it's really hard to tell, like, oh, there was 5, 6, 10, 12, 11, 13 people in the room or something, and they were all having in like a big orgy or something. It's kind of weird how after these guys who tried to get him to kill himself, that tried to connect him with communists and then failed, but then decided to keep going anyways, came out with this like scratchy weird tape that like a couple people listened to that said that he was totally like banging in that room, bro. Here's this from the 1975 Senate Select Committee, where they were talking about someone who was working in the FBI at the time on MLK and the communist connections, and also the FBI spying.
A report was written for the director by his chief intelligence officer, reporting that the Communist Party, in fact, for 40 years had been trying to control the Negro movement, and that it had always failed, and that its efforts in connection with the March on Washington were infinitesimal. This was not accepted by the director of the FBI. He found that thinking wrong, unacceptable, and said that it must be changed, and it was changed. And then we find paper coming in which the lower level people in the FBI apologize for having misunderstood matters, and on they go with this effort to discredit, and start they do the bugs on Dr. King. The Bureau went so far as to mail anonymous letters to Dr. King and his wife, which were mailed shortly before he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and finishes with this suggestion. King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do it. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason. It has definite practical significance. It was 34 days before the award.
And that's the letter that they sent for him to kill himself. Normal FBI stuff. Normal FBI stuff. And this is the FBI today. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? This MLK Day and every day, the FBI remains dedicated to service and protecting our communities." Okay, FBI. Okay. Sure, buddy, I bet. So they lied about this man constantly. everything they said about him was like completely untrue and unverified, and we still don't hear nobody, which most people and most experts will say was going to be more likely than not incredibly inconsequential. What happened in that room in like DC was they were like telling dirty jokes to each other in private, laughing and like just chilling out. But the FBI was like, "Oh my gosh, we have to use this to do something. We have to do something. We have to stop him." And it didn't work. But that won't stop people like Crowder from making lies about King. It's just what he does.
FBI surveillance docs show, which will be released in 2027.
Yep.
The group met in his Curse's hotel room and discussed which women among the parishioners would be suitable for natural or unnatural sex acts. When one of the women protested that she did not approve of this, the Baptist minister immediately and forcibly raped her. Quoted directly from the FBI notes, surveillance notes, King looked on, laughed, and offered advice.
That's unbelievable. And by the way, just to be
Yeah, bro, that's so unbelievable. Man, it's the FBI said that about King. Whoa, that's so unbelievable, bro. It's almost like I can't believe it. It's almost like I don't believe it. It's almost like they're lying. Yeah, it is in fact incredibly unbelievable. Yes. We heard MLK. He was in a room and like there were like 50 people like raping this girl, and he was like, "Bro, that's so funny. This is King. That's him." Sure, buddy. Yeah, I bet that's what happened. Yeah, I bet, bro.
Be clear, the audio tapes will be released in 2027. These notes right now, and this is what the author said, because he's taken all kinds of flack for it. Nobody is challenging the legitimacy of the claims. They're just saying they bugged it. It was the biggest FBI abuse of power they've ever seen.
Who? What are you talking about? Who says there's no, they're not disputing the claims? What, they were telling dirty jokes to each other, and that's it. They were just in a room chilling. Who's they? Trust me, bro. Listen, bro. Nobody disputes this. Nobody ever says they're wrong. Nobody ever says we're wrong, bro. Oh my gosh, bro. So FBI is just Crowder's just an FBI agent? Maybe. He knows a lot, okay? Everybody disputes this. This is just not fucking true. It's completely unbelievable. Nobody believes this shit, except for racist people. So I guess that makes a lot of sense. It's almost like it was completely fabricated from an organization hell-bent on trying to destroy him. Least racist FBI agent. Wild how that happened, huh? And they're just gonna run with it. They're just gonna be like, "Yo, dude, this is like it has to be true."
Seen because they bugged him and he didn't know, and they bugged everything, and then they started releasing things to try to get this factual information that they had into the right hands so they could smear King. That was it. Not that it was lies.
Right.
You can go to the National Archives right now. Anybody with an internet connection can go and look this up. It is public.
Well, we have the links available.
Yep,
too.
and you have to deal with it.
LouderCoder.com, all references available. I mean, offering advice on a rape is almost shocking.
I never knew
say
that.
so.
Yeah, and he had daughters too. That's a horrible
That's
thing.
a terrible thing.
It's funny how they're giving it 40 years from the date of the.
This is like high school level gossip, just so you know, but on someone that you just kind of like don't like. It's so unbelievable, bro. Oh my gosh. Where's this man's eyebrows? They died with King, okay? Yeah, imagine, counting all of these people in a room based on audio tapes. Like, what the fuck are you saying? He had daughters. Yeah, he had daughters. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Shut the fuck up, Grandpa. Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. I can't believe MLK would have done this. Oh no. Man who had daughters did a thing. Man who had daughters is lied about doing a thing. It's just everybody knows that the FBI was lying about King to try to destroy him. This is just true. And everybody knows that these like wild outlandish claims about like him being like the kingpin rapist or something. Everybody knows they're just like not true. There are people who wrote about King afterwards. There was someone who's a close confidant of King, and who took over his church after he was assassinated, who was like really desperate when it comes to money, and wrote like a bunch of like tell-alls and stuff like that. But like, you would have thought that if that were true, or if anybody around King would have like heard that or said anything, that he would have written that down, right? But that didn't happen. That wasn't written anywhere. It was only the FBI agents who were hell-bent on trying to destroy him who said that. And honestly, I gotta tell you, with their long history, I don't really trust the FBI when it comes to anything that they have to say about MLK. They've been proven wrong time and time again. But when it comes to Crowder, he'll like say the CDC is lying and the government is always lying about everything. The government's lying about everything as long as it's politically expedient for him. But the second it comes down to something that is a politically expedient, shitting on MLK just for fun or to get clicks, Now the FBI is like so true. The FBI is like probably like one of the most reliable sources here, bro. Oh my gosh. We always think Crowder can't get any worse from here. Don't worry, he can, and he does. Oh wait, it's just what Crowder always does. More lies, more deceit. It's just who Crowder is. And it's unfortunate that this man is as popular as it is. But once again, and I do this every Crowder segment, the real question is, how long? YouTube, how long? How long is this man going to stay on YouTube? How long is it going to take for you guys to take some genuine action? How many times is he going to get banned until you finally decide to do something? This guy has been able to just kind of skirt taking any responsibility for anything that he's done or said on your platform forever. I actually don't know anybody. I haven't heard or know anybody else who's been banned or suspended or like locked out of their account for as many times as Crowder has. I don't, especially for like community guideline offenses. I don't know a single one, not one. But he's allowed to just keep going. For what reason? They make you money? You don't want to deal with it? What is it? I'd like to know, because he just continues pushing racist conspiracies, lies and deceit, like for his entire duration on YouTube, as he gets to continue to use his platform. I'm just really curious. When is this going to stop, YouTube? When?